Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel Allard here today with another installment of our Female Founder series. I'm here with one of my favorite people in the whole world. I'm here with Sue Meservier, the founder and owner, although I think now former owner, we'll have to get into that, of Meservier Meservier and Associates, one of Maine's largest um, independent brokerages. And actually, I think you're like the third largest woman owned in the entire state of Maine, right?
Yes, yes. Well, myself and through the agents that we're affiliated with, absolutely. We rank in consistently in the top 15 to 20 agents in the state out of 3,500.
Wow, that's so awesome, and all your success, of course, didn't happen overnight. I know we've talked about this before, and one of the reasons I love you is you started out in the industry at a very young age in a male-dominated space. So, can you give us a little bit of background? How did you get into real estate?
Sure. I found myself with two young children looking for a lifelong career. And um, interestingly or oddly enough, back then, back in the 80s, couldn't decide what I wanted to do. So what was recommended to me by a friend was to actually go to the library, and annually they published a book of all of the careers and all of the employment positions that um, people had in our country. So I sort of flipped through those and looked at the descriptions and the wages associated with them and the things, the requirements and the education. And I kept coming back to real estate. So I thought I left there saying, yep, that's real estate's the thing for me. So I started the education process and got my license. I remember the very first day in the business, I was terrified because it's regardless of the education, it's very much of a on the field or on the job training, so to speak. So the skill set really comes from actually doing, not being in the classroom. So day one, I was given a Rolodex card, blank Rolodex card, a push button phone, a desk, and a chair. And they said, here you go. So I knew that I had to start talking with people, making phone calls. And back then the industry was very, very different, very not much technology. So it was really about who did I call, write up an index card, describing my conversation with them, following back up. And I remember my very first listing appointment, very nice person who made me feel very comfortable and gave me an opportunity to list his house. So that was the very first listing that I took. And that was in 1988. And there have been thousands since then.
Wow, the rest is history, as they say, although you are
Yes,
still going strong in the business.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So you mentioned your two daughters, and I want to kind of dive right into that. So you have Renee and Nicole, and one of them is now running the business with you. So
Yes.
tell us a
Yes.
little about that.
I What gets confusing is that my son-in-law works as our operations manager, and my daughter works as my office manager, setting up our systems and managing our administrative staff. But they're not married. So my daughter-in-law that works for me is married to my son-in-law, who's not in the business. And then my son-in-law, that is our operations manager, is married to my other daughter, who is not in the business. So we ran a team for many, many years. I started with ERA back in the 80s, and then moved to Keller Williams and never changed my seat or my office. I was in ownership in Keller Williams, and we sold the business to the Maine Real Estate Network, stayed right in my office, in my seat, no changes there, no packing up, no moving. And from there, from the sale of Keller Williams to the main real estate network, again, wonderful company to work for. And then the owner of that company decided to sell a couple of years ago to B Group. Once again, I stayed right where I was, just followed the transitions from company to company. And then this year, I decided with the level of success that we achieved that it was time for us to open our own company. And it was very, very exciting. We found a temporary office space. My daughter and son-in-law have actually purchased a building that is under renovations. That's going to be our permanent space. So they're my landlords, and they tell me originally our completion date was September. Now it's potentially October. So that's how construction goes. So very, very excited about our new office space as well. So I'm in ownership. I am the CEO of the company. I still love servicing clients, and I continue to run the company along with our management team, which consists of my daughter and my son-in-law.
I love that. And I love that Nicole and Tony have you as a role model that they have learned from and have been able to kind of take what you've built and run with it. I'm curious though, going back to your start, you didn't have a mom in the business. You just told us, how you picked the career and basically started from scratch. So to what do you attribute your success in, staying in this industry for decades?
Well, it's an attitude of you do or die, and you did what you needed to do. I knew what the right things to do were, and I needed to handle objections, and I needed to handle disappointments. And rather than focusing on my losses or my failures, I chose to learn from those and continue on. So the interesting part is, just to go back to my daughter, is that she watched me, on the phone, making appointments. So she grew up with me in real estate. So I served as a bit of an indirect role model to her. So my son-in-law, who had an education degree, looking for employment at the time, back in the 2000, mid 2000 to 2010. And I said, just, why don't you consider real estate? And he was an absolute perfect fit for it. So moving forward, I found talent to work alongside of me in addition, and mentored and trained them through my challenges about how to deal with defeat, how to deal with rejection, and to move on. And for a lot of people, that's a very difficult thing to do. And it was for me as well. But I couldn't stay focused on the things that I didn't do well or that I needed to. I focused on the things that I needed to do to succeed. And I just learned from those things and applied them to my future success.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I love that attitude. And I think now, obviously this year, more than ever, that's probably come into play. And just having that, I think it's kind of cheesy to say can do attitude, but I think it applies. Just that determination and grit, and also positivity. You can make things happen.
Yeah.
So what are what are you facing now? Can you talk about this year and how it's affected your business and Nicole and Tony, and obviously exciting changes in ownership, but we're also dealing with the pandemic, and how have your agents and their customers needs changed?
Right. It was probably the absolute riskiest time to open up your own company during a pandemic. We left our prior company in May, so shortly after the complete lockdown of the pandemic circumstances. So we had no idea really what to expect in the market. We were doing well, but we always have, but we didn't know if the market would continue. So what we now find is that, or what we have found over the last few months, is that sellers seem to be less reluctant to put their homes on the market for whatever reason. I don't know, but either the inventory to sell has been maintaining the way it typically would during this time of year, but we've been completely overrun by buyers. A lot of them coming from out of state, because Maine has been such an easy state to social distance in. We've had a very low incidence of the virus, no major peaks. There's been a lot of social responsibility, and we have a lot of open space. So the changes have really been about lots of buyers, and whether they're local or from out of state, it's been very challenging for them to buy. Sellers are in control over what they sell their properties for. They're seeing multiple offers. They're seeing offers above asking price. Buyers are competing for listed properties. So as we head into a slower time, typically in our business, I anticipate that the showing activity will slow down a little bit, and maybe things will balance off. But Maine tends to be a little bit of a sleepy market. It doesn't necessarily spike dramatically from season to season like some of the larger metropolitan areas do. So it sort of moves slowly. But then when you're a seller's market, the byproduct of that is eventually a buyer's market. So it's going to change, and it'll be interesting to see how it changes, especially in a pandemic environment.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm keeping my fingers crossed for you. Obviously, in Auburn and the surrounding towns where you are, usually, you mentioned it being a sleepier area. Usually, you also, I know, are higher volume because the lower average home price than, say more metropolitan, like a Portland or other areas. So hopefully, people will see the benefit of both the increasing prices and sort of isolation from the rest of what's going on in the market. I'm curious too, the pandemic has probably changed how you've led the now company. And I mean, you've been a team leader, as you mentioned, for decades. You've had some agents who you've worked with side by side for a really long time. And now with your management team, what are you hearing that's different from what your agents and your team needs because of the pandemic? Or is it really the same?
We've got some pretty experienced agents on our team. And what we're really doing is finding that we're offering a great opportunity and a great business model for younger agents to really grow their businesses through our business model. So, for instance, we had an agent come on from another company who had been affiliated with for a year and had done 4 transactions during that year. Well, you can't build a skill set with 4 transactions in a year. So she found herself in our business model with 4 transactions in a month. So they don't know anything but a market with a pandemic, in a pandemic. So they're learning the business in this environment, which I think will only give them the ability to manage themselves through the changes, because the pandemic is certainly going to do that at some level. So new agent, each one of us was a new agent at one time. I was a new agent, and somebody gave me an opportunity. And what I love more, And what I'm so excited about is the ability to give other people that same opportunity, believing in them and growing them into successful agents with great careers. So I love our company's business model and how it provides that opportunity for young agents. We rely on our seasoned agents very much because they've been through the changes. So they act as wonderful mentors for our younger agents, which is also something I'm very proud of.
That is wonderful. I think also going back to your your experience, I hear from a lot of female founders that, you didn't necessarily have that mentor early on. You had to figure it out yourself. So it's actually more important, relating it to parenting. Now I know that you either become the parent who you had the model of, or you become the opposite of that, because that's all you have to go off of. So I love that. And I love, a lot of the women I talk to are really good about developing these mentor systems. I think one of the other things that you mentioned early on is, you have really good partners. You've always been someone who's kind of embraced the relationship side of the business
Right.
and really known, I know in our partnership too, what you want to focus on and what you want other people to focus on, and really just focusing on those strengths and those things you can do. So I'm curious, sort of with, thinking about bringing on these newer agents, thinking about mentorship, thinking about the success you've already had. I know it's hard to predict the future, especially hard now in the situations we are. But what does success look like for you in the next year or two, knowing where you are?
From our company standpoint, I think one of our successes is going to be able to occupy our brand new office space, which is really going to be built towards today's real estate agent.
Mhm.
So typically when I started, you had desks lined up or you had individual offices with desks, and we're going to, as they call it, have really slick space, so to speak. So obviously conference rooms with what they call telephone booths where agents get to go in and have private conversations with clients. But um, the office space is going to have a full kitchen with a sort of a breakfast bar where agents get to really interact with one another and share their experiences. And that's really how they learn. Um, sort of the center of the building is going to be built kind of like a lounge where agents get to work alongside one another, and it makes it makes it easy for them to sort of ask a question versus getting up, having to go into somebody's office and say, hey, do you have a minute? Can you answer a question for me? So the office is very exciting. We're anticipating some very exciting growth. We are a locally owned independent company, which is sort of the way the industry is going because of the technology available to us. Back in the 90s, we didn't have the technology that we have today. So we needed to affiliate with national franchises in order to stay connected, in order to understand what was going on in our marketplace. Our MLS systems were very primitive. Everything was very primitive. But today's day and age, we really have the opportunity to be independent and locally owned, run by Maine people. And that speaks volumes to what we have to offer to our community and to our clients. So really excited about being able to be independent and getting to do things the way we'd like to for our clients and for our agents.
That's kind of the Mainer way, I feel like, that independence. And, I'll figure it out.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm excited you mentioned technology too, Sue, because I know it's your favorite thing in the world to talk about. But I would love to get your perspective on whether you have a piece of technology or something that you think for, let's say, somebody starting out today looking to maybe form their own brokerage. What do you think really has enabled your success from the technology side? What value do you think it's added? And is there anything that's missing that you really want someone to invent or give to you?
Well, you're going to love this part because Union Street Media is a very large part of our technology. And being able to own our own website that's lead generating is a huge benefit to our clients and our agents. In addition, we do subscribe to some national lead generation platforms that we purchase and are in control of. What we're seeing change in a little bit in our marketplace is that we're competing with some referral sourced leads where they take the referral income that we pay them and they use it to advertise. And the consumer doesn't know the difference between an advertisement that says we'll find you the very best agent versus seeing our website be a website that comes from locally owned, more with agents, more with led by an agent with more than 30 years of experience. So in my opinion, that's the best agent to choose. So what frustrates me sometimes is finding those kinds of referral companies getting in between us and our clients. So I feel very strongly about owning our own technology platforms, which include our website, which is lead generating, and including the purchase of leads that don't require referrals is huge. And it concerns me about that might be the direction that the industry is going in. And I want to fight it tooth and nail, in all honesty, to do whatever I can to make sure that we find ourselves in direct communication with our clients, offering them the best services, not necessarily random services chosen for them by companies that earn income from referral fees that agents pay. So that's one of my technology standpoints, or my firm position on owning and being in control of our own technology, because things change and I don't want to necessarily be a byproduct or experience the negative impact of the byproduct of changes that might be made.
Absolutely. Yep. Things change, but your desk will be in the same spot, right?
Yeah, that it will be. That it will be. But we didn't have to worry about technology back then. All I had to do was worry about where I sat and that I had a phone.
You had a phone, exactly.
It's much more complicated than it used to be. The most exciting thing that happened to us back in the 80s was we got a fax machine. And it was a thermal fax machine. And so the faxes came through on thermal paper, and they sort of came to the floor in circles. And you had to cut the faxes in order to provide them to agents. And they were on a thin type of thermal paper. Very, very exciting to have that kind of technology. So that was about as fancy as things got back in the 80s.
Do you still have one?
No, I don't. And we had to take one Polaroid photo of our listed properties because our
Only
MLS,
one?
because our MLS had the capacity to put one photo of the house on the MLS along with the basic data. And they would take that information and they would photograph it, I think either 4 or 6 listings per page, and it would come out every 2 weeks in a book.
Wow.
So that was an exciting time for agents because all of the new listings came in and all of the sold listings came in. and we made photocopies of those things and sent them to our clients. It's a different world and sometimes hard to keep up with. We rely on people like yourself to sort of teach us ways to sort of use technology to our benefit and to our clients' benefit. So,
Mhm. Well, wow, I I love that. I actually have used a typewriter, but I don't think I've ever used a thermal fax machine. So I'm a little sad I never saw
wow, I used to take typing in class. So it's just I never imagined the changes in the industry that would occur. But then again, I was just so focused on servicing my buyers and clients that it really was not something I paid a lot of attention to. It just technology sort of led me. That wasn't my business. Technology wasn't my business. Real estate was my business. So as technology introduced itself, I had to learn it.
it.
And from a book, I think we went to some sort of a data entry system, which was a major launch of computer access to the listing inventory or the housing inventory in our market. So now we have way more tools available to clients to be able to give them much more information.
Yeah, now people can buy sight unseen. Who would
They
have thought
do.
during a pandemic?
They do. Based on aerial photography, Matterport, walk-through photography. We videotape inspectors going through properties, and they do. They buy them sight unseen. There have been many clients I've never met until closing.
Mhm. Well, and it's interesting you mentioned that because I think you still meet them, right? So the technology is enabling the relationship, it doesn't replace it. And I know there are a lot of people out there who are looking at the EXPs and the other sort of fully virtual models and saying that's the future. And if you also look at data, and you know me, I love data, agent commissions have not. They've not declined. People still want to work with agents, and Gen Z too, is the same way. So I think it's really interesting that that relationship is still just as strong, and technology seems to be, the thing that's enabling it, not the thing that's again replacing it.
Yeah. And we're really not, I've always believed that we're really not selling houses.
Mhm,
We're really in relationship with clients, and
mhm,
our business really is about people.
mhm,
And they rely on us to guide them through the process, um, help them form on negotiating positions. And when they come to the process, it's very emotional and very stressful for them.
mhm,
So, because I've been through it thousands of times, I can explain to them here's what this means, and here are your options, and what would you like to do as a result of that. So, it's really educating them, whether you have technology or not. It's about the relationship with the person. The house is the byproduct of that.
mhm,
Um, so I think as we guide our clients, as you said, commissions haven't really changed. The fact that we create relationships with our clients, it has never changed. That's what I did in the 80s, and that's what I continue to do. The technology is the support piece, to help convey information and educate our clients.
mhm. Yeah. Well, and one of the reasons you're so good at it. So I'd love to go back to something you said a little earlier about the, younger agents who are joining the team who were maybe doing 4 transactions a year previously, and they're doing 4 a month now. They're getting that experience and they're growing. When you were starting out, and also now as a broker owner, what what type of data, what metrics do you follow regularly to gauge whether you're successful or not? Do you look at the competition? Do you look at total transaction volume? Do you look at those things? Or do you kind of go by gut and intuition?
Mhm. Well, I think it's a little bit of everything, based on the success of our agents, our experienced agents, and our new agents. How they're feeling about their business is important to me.
Mhm.
But one of the things that we track is our inventory, which is our clients' competition. It's also for sellers, and it's also the information that buyers need to understand when they make their offers that there is so little for sale.
Mhm.
So, also tracking the average days on market, the percentage of the sale price versus the list price, the absorption rate, understanding that it took the market 6 months to absorb a certain number of listings. So, based on that absorption rate, what can we expect from the next 6 months?
Mhm.
Now, there's no science to it, but what we can do is analyze the data today and then apply it to the next 6 months in our marketplace just to educate us as to where we are right now.
Mhm.
Um, and then also seeing how successful our agents are in getting their offers accepted in competing offer situations,
Mhm.
you know, giving them the skill sets that they need. So, technology, I think, is tracked a number of different ways. Union Street does a great job of giving us our results based on, the number of time, how much time clients are spending on our website, how many are coming to our website, and tracking that month over month. So that's helpful as well. The lead conversion piece is a very big piece of that. We do find that the sort of cold leads or the leads that we pay to generate provide some instant business for our clientele, but it's really the spheres of influence that each of our agents have
Mhm.
because they know the agents personally. They already trust them,
Mhm.
and personal referrals do that as well.
Mhm.
So technology is a byproduct, is a piece of it, but I go back again to the fact that it's really about relationships,
Mhm.
with people and building relationships with people you don't know so that they trust and respect you.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, and now it seems like that's even becoming more global than ever. It's more local and also global in the sense that you do have people who are looking to move to your area from great distances away. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes or doesn't in the next couple of years.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm curious, Sue. I know don't want to keep you on yet another Zoom call for hours, so I'll let you go soon. Just have really two more questions for you. I think looking back, what advice would you have given young Sue based on what you know now um, about the business, about yourself?
Um,
Sorry, I should say younger Sue. You're still young.
a young Sue versus an old Sue. I get it, Rachel. I do. Um, Advice to my younger self. I think I might have um, waited too long to hire support so that I could spend more time with just clients
Mm,
because there's a lot of administrative work that goes along with um, supporting our buyers and sellers. So if I had the insight earlier on to hire administrative support, I might have been able to serve more clients and actually build a stronger skill set by doing so.
mhm,
Um, it took me probably 3 years before I kind of saw that. And I was one of the few agents that really dived into that
mm,
principle early on. But part of me, it does come down to what you can afford too. So you have to build your business up to a certain level to be able to afford the administrative support.
Mhm.
Um, and there were many years where that was a challenge, and I questioned whether that was the right thing to do. But I did believe in it, and I stuck through it. And my advice to the younger me is do it, believe in it, and stick to it in spite of all of the challenges that come along to it. There have been some very, very low times in my career where I thought, geez, is this really for me? So the younger me, I would have spent less time focusing on that and more time focusing on what I knew I needed to do to be successful.
Mhm. Well, I think that certainly resonates with me. I think hopefully it resonates with anyone else watching this. One more question before I let you go, Sue, because we've been talking about your really, really extensive experience and career in real estate and all your success now getting to the point of owning your own, one of the largest in Maine independent brokerages. Tell us something about you non-real estate related. What's something fun that most people don't know, or that some people, maybe Nicole and Tony know, but the rest of the world who's going to watch this doesn't?
Yeah, well, I am so blessed to have such a talented daughter and such a talented son-in-law who are such integral parts of the business. So they each have a little boy and a little girl. So I am blessed with 4 grandchildren that I just adore. Um, I they're my littles, and I enjoy them tremendously. And family, in spite of the fact that we work together, family is a big piece of my life for me. And I also love horses. So they are where I feel um, completely relaxed and connected to something other than work. Um, you have to be attentive. They communicate with you on various levels. So um, I love horses. They're my passion, and dogs. I have a wonderful German Shepherd, so I'm a huge animal lover. And they communicate with me very uniquely. It might sound weird. Maybe some people can connect to that or not. I don't know. Um, and then I've been married 5 years to a wonderfully supportive husband who um, really sacrificed a lot for me to be able to grow my business. We've made lots of sacrifices personally, as a couple, and even as a young family, raising 2 daughters for him to support the success of my business. So I feel very, very blessed with my personal life and all of the benefits that the business has enabled me to enjoy.
Well, thank you so much, Sue, for sharing with us today a little bit of wisdom and part of your life story. For those of you watching this, Sue really is as nice as she seems. So go reach out to Sue or join the Meservier and Associates team if you are in Central Maine. And for everyone else, this is our Female Founder series where we spotlight women in the business who've just done amazing things and hopefully can inspire us all during these times where I think we all need it. I'm Rachel Allard with Union Street Media, and thanks again for watching.